This is the help video for Access Chapter 2, Pause and Practice number 3. We're picking up on step number 10. In the prior steps, we created a second table that we identified fields for the service history. And now what we're going to do is we're going to create a relationship between the equipment and the service history. And so what this is going to allow us to do is look at the data together. So in relational databases, you never repeat data unless it's a connecting piece of information. And so the connecting piece of information in this is the equipment ID. And so all the other pieces of information that are in the equipment, about an equipment, they should only be there one time. But there might be times when we're looking at a service history that we want to know a category or a weekly rent. Well, we can look at all of that together because there is that connector between them. They are related. So to do this relationship, we're going to come up here to Database Tools, and there's a relationship window. I'm going to close this up, and we're going to click on Relationship. It's going to come up, and you're going to have over here the tables that you can add. I just used my Shift key to select both and say Add Selected Tables. I'm all done with that, so I'm going to close that up. One of the things that I like to do is to open up these boxes so you can see all of the fields in the table. It's not always possible if you have an extremely large table, but it's good to if you can. So then what we're going to do is we're going to relate this equipment ID, which is the primary key in equipment, to the foreign key that's over here in service. Now, notice this doesn't have a key in front of it. So in the service history, a piece of equipment can appear more than one time. And that makes sense, right? This one piece of equipment may be serviced many, many times. And so that feeds us into the type of relationship, one to many. One piece of equipment can be serviced multiple times. So equipment ID in this table is a primary key, meaning that equipment ID can only occur once. But over here, it occurs multiple times for each service that was performed on that equipment. So we're just going to click, hold, and drag, and you're going to get this little knot symbol. Just keep going. Have a little faith. We're going to come over, and then boom. We're going to point that arrow right up on FK Equipment ID and let go. And so this screen is where you can validate that you did the right thing. So equipment, equipment ID. Service history, FK Equipment ID. So let's say you weren't so precise and you picked the wrong thing. If you click there, there's the down arrow and you can fix your mistake, right? So if you accidentally hit performed by or odometer, you just need to click it here. So then we need to decide whether or not we're going to enforce referential integrity. So the proper thing to do is to enforce it. So what is referential integrity? So that is the idea that we cannot perform service on a piece of equipment that doesn't exist in the equipment table. So the something in the many has to exist in the one before you can put that. So if you think of another example, you as a student are registering for a class. You can't register for a class until you have been assigned your S number or in the system, right? You can't register. So you register for multiple classes, but you're only one student. So in the student, you're the one table. Enrollment, you're the many. Can't enroll until you exist and your S number exists. Same thing here. So we want to enforce that. Then we're going to do cascade updates and something I don't ever do, cascade deletes. So what that means is if something gets changed, those changes flow, which the update's good. But if you delete a piece of equipment, it flows down and it deletes all the service history. And I don't like anything to be deleted without me controlling that. I don't usually delete things. You just use other techniques for that. But the system wants us to do that, so we're going to do that. And then the final check is our relationship here. It's a one to many, and that's true. One piece of equipment can be serviced multiple times. So that is all good. So we're going to create it. We're going to get a line between it. So the line exists when you build it. The 1 and infinity symbol exists when you turn on referential integrity. So if you just have a line without the 1 many, you need to go back. So double click on that line. It brings you back to that edit relationship and make sure the referential integrity is there. So we're good. So we're going to save that and close it. So now these two tables are connected on that piece of information. So now the next piece of information is asking you to import the service history data file for 11. So we're going to do external data, new source, from file. It's an Excel file, service history data file. We're going to browse and find it. We're pulling this into our service history, so we want to do an append, but you want to make sure here, now we have more than one table, so you want to go to service history, OK, next, finish. We don't need to save it, so now we have records in our service history. So super cool. We didn't have to type them. So if you go to equipment, now you can see there's plus signs, and that's because there's a related piece of information. So if you click at that plus sign, it opens up the related table. So for this particular backhoe, you can see all of the service records for that backhoe. You can do that to any of these, right? So if you go down to level site laser, here's the last service that happened. This works because we have a related field. Okay. So let's go ahead and prepare. Let's see, equipment, and we're going to do file, print. I'm going to do a print preview. It's going to show you the records, but you can see it's not all of them. So we're going to change it to landscape, and it still isn't. So we're going to set the margins. Let's do narrow and see what happens. They want margins normal. Oh, that works. So normal margins, and you can see that. Now, normally you wouldn't print from the table, but that's a quick way to do that. So we can go ahead and close that. We don't really need to do that. So we're all done with this. The last thing we need to do is go back to Backstage View, go into Info, and do a compact and repair. And then that just fixes any errors, and it makes the database as small as it needs to be or can be. And we're all good. So you can submit this file for grade into Blackboard. Thank you.